Just keep it off the books, not secrets. Off the books. Joey Jugs.
Okay. I hope you can hear me. This is my first time going live with my new setup. I know it's late, but this is kind of a little test live stream. Make sure I got everything I need. What I want to do today is I really want to watch the best and worst debate I've ever seen in my life all over again. It's going to be Rachel Wilson versus Brian Shapiro, and this is about feminism. Have women and children benefited from feminism? This is the most insane debate I've ever watched. You have a tried and true debater, Rachel Wilson, wrote one of the best books I've ever read, Occult Feminism, versus Brian Shapiro, a guy that doesn't know how to debate at all. He doesn't understand the fundamentals of debate at all. And it's just going to be really interesting when they go head to head. One is going to be logical consistency, and the other one's going to be ad hominem attacks with all emotional appeal. So, just join me. We're going to watch it. It's going to be great.
It's going to be history versus common sense. You guys can decide for yourselves. It's funny because I was talking with my manager on the way over here, and we were laughing a little bit because the irony of this debate is she would not be standing here, with all due respect, she would not be getting paid to debate me if not for feminism. That's not an opinion, everybody. That's a fact. She would not have been paid to write her book if not for feminism and the people that work really hard to give her the opportunity to do this. Now listen, I don't care how much money she's getting paid. I don't care how much money her husband makes. The fact of the matter is that she wouldn't be here if not for feminism. Again, not an opinion, fact. I've never been called a feminist before. I've been called a lot of things by a lot of people. Never been called a feminist because I don't think I am one. I'm just somebody that doesn't like to tell other people what to do with their lives, man or woman. Who am I to tell a woman, you should stay at home, you shouldn't be in the workplace, you shouldn't have kids after 30? No. I want people to live their lives and do the things that they want to do because life is short. What right do I have, man or woman, to tell you what to do with your life? Now, I'm not really sure, and I'll ask Rachel this question. What does this country look like for her? Does she not want women to work at all? Does she want us to be a third world country like Afghanistan where women are not allowed to work? Now, you're going to hear this word a lot in this debate. No, it's not going to be Donald Trump. But you're going to hear the word hypocrisy a lot. Because Rachel's made decisions in her life because of feminism. Rachel's had the opportunity.
All right, let's just stop it for a second. Already, he's going to start talking about her personally. So just remember what an ad hom is, a deflection away from like the actual argument. And he's going to start focusing on her personally. Like, just remember when two people are debating, it's nothing about them personally at all. It's not, you're not going to sit there and be like, but what about you? That's not consistent with how you're arguing logic at all. Doesn't matter if she's the most feminist person ever, least feminist he is. Doesn't matter. These are just two ideas going against each other, not two people. And what he doesn't understand is as soon as he starts attacking her, like personally, anybody watching this and understands what this is going to be like, oh shit, he does not know what he's doing at all.
To get out of relationships because of feminism. It wasn't even that long ago where women were in abusive relationships, but they weren't allowed to get out of those relationships. I don't care about someone's personal life. I don't care how many baby daddies they have. I don't care how many ex-husbands they have. It's not my business. But in this debate, it is my business because she's telling other people how they should live their life. Why is it okay for her to do that, but not others? I defer.
Thank you very much for that opening statement. We're going to kick it over to Rachel for her 5-minute opening as well. Rachel, I have the timer set for you. The floor is all yours.
Well, thanks for coming, everybody, and being here. It's great to see so many faces, and all of you online watching, thanks for your support. Thank you to Andrew for giving me something beautiful to look at in the front row. A whole straw man opening is brand new for me, but that should be fun. So for my opening, the topic of the debate is, has feminism been good for women?
And just like listen to the difference, right? That was his opening. He said nothing at all. And she's about to open, and it's going to be about her position, her defending her position. It's insane. It's like imagine going to a basketball game and there's a person with no legs, blind, and he's about to go against like LeBron James, right? The other person that's blind also doesn't know how to play basketball either. And he's about to go against like LeBron James and doesn't put any any numbers on the board, gets a complete 0. But after the debate, he starts like popping champagne bottles and being like, congratulating himself. That's Brian Shapiro. Like, for real, the audacity, the utter, the lack of humility, the hubris, the false confidence, it's absolutely insane. And the worst part is he's not self-aware of it, because I'm gonna drop a video tomorrow of when I called into his show to ask him about how he feels he did 1 to 10 on a 1 to 10 scale. And he made up his own definition for debate. He couldn't even answer it. He's not even self-aware. That's what makes this guy a complete lol cow. Like, he's infamous. He's a heel. So just keep watching this. If you're into debates, thanks for watching this with me. This is my first live stream. I'm going to be doing this a lot more. I appreciate you guys tuning in.
Women and children. I'm glad we're talking about this, because the whole reason I do this is that feminism has destroyed the lives of children. So let's talk about the promises of feminism, what it told women and children it was going to do, how they got suffrage passed, how they got the whole agenda passed. It was supposed to provide women with safety, equality, and happiness. Let's look at the last 100 years and see if feminism has delivered on any of those promises to women and kids. So after no-fault divorce became kind of the law of the land starting in the 60s and spread across the country, we changed all of society. Prior to 1950, there were only about 2% of kids living with single parents in a single-parent home. Now that number is over 40%. Contrary to popular belief, women were allowed to leave abusive and dangerous marriages prior to no fault. No fault divorce didn't mean no divorce. It just meant you have to have a reason. So in the year 1900 alone, there were over 55,700 divorces granted to women for reasons like abuse or abandonment. Now you can just get one because you're not feeling it anymore. So what we have is broken homes. And the effects of broken homes on kids are extremely well explained in the data across all the data sets, and they're very consistent over time. So after this big wave of divorce in the 80s and all these newly single parent homes, children experienced a lot of destabilization in their lives, which put them at risk for everything you can think of. From, let's take a look at this. Fatherless homes account for children. 90% of kids who are homeless come from a fatherless home.
Back.
85% with behavioral disorders. 75% of kids in substance abuse treatment centers. 88% of kids who are committed to psych wards come from broken homes. If you look at abuse of all kinds, all the data sets show that kids who are living with a single mom and their partner are at the highest risk, more than 10 times more risk than children who are living with both married biological parents. Also for women, domestic violence didn't go away because of no-fault divorce. It shifted to cohabitative relationships. So the domestic violence rate dropped for married couples, but it skyrocketed for cohabitating couples. You are at 40% higher risk of getting abused by your boyfriend than you are your husband if you live with your boyfriend. So much for safety, I guess. What about equality? Well, men still do.
And for that one
all the
person
dirty,
watching,
dangerous,
thanks for
difficult
tuning in.
jobs.
You're awesome.
92% of all work deaths are men. 90% of all infrastructure jobs, the essential infrastructure jobs that run everything you see here, are done by men. Women get less time for the same crime. Men get 30% longer sentences. Women get 40% more probation than sentences for the exact same crimes as men. Single mother households dominate welfare. 85% of SNAP money goes to women, to single moms. And if you look at welfare and out-of-wedlock births on a graph, they go up in tandem over the last 70 years together. So what about happiness? Are women happy? Well, unfortunately, no. We now have 26% of all American women are on at least one psychiatric drug. There's been 2 major studies done on women's happiness since sexual liberation. The paradox of declining female happiness and a follow-up study called the female happiness paradox. Both data sets across time, culture, economic status did not matter. Women's happiness has decreased both absolutely and relative to men. So in summary, no, feminism didn't deliver on its promises. It hadn't made women and children safer or happier. It made them more vulnerable to abuse and exploitation by removing the men that have the most interest in protecting them, and that would be their own fathers and their own husbands.
Thank you very much for that 5-minute opening as well. We will jump into the rebuttals. These are 5 minutes as well. Brian, I've got the timer set for you. The floor is all yours.
The word.
Super, super concise. You see the difference already. Like, you see the difference already. Rachel Wilson came, not only she came prepared, this is her field. She knows all this information already. And this guy didn't really do his read up on the source material. He just did his reading up on Rachel Wilson. So that's what you're going to see here. You're going to see somebody that came to debate about feminism, and then you're going to see somebody that came just to talk shit about Rachel Wilson. It's an insane, so interesting. I'm telling you, I guess I just have different interests now, but this is one of the most interesting debates I've ever watched.
Would be hypocrisy. Rachel just talked about abuse, divorce. I want to be very clear with what I'm about to say. It is normally not my business to talk about how many children you have, how many ex-husbands you have. But when you have somebody to my left who wants to tell other women how to live their lives, I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to bring up some studies. Now, Rachel has 3 baby daddies. Why is that important?
You can't make this shit up, dude. You can't make this shit up. As soon as he has as soon as he can start with, like, actually speaking, he starts talking about her personally. What he doesn't understand, it doesn't matter if she had 15 baby daddies. Or it's crazy because this guy is supposed to be like a white knight. The idea of baby daddies is like basically a racial term to a degree. And every kid that she had was by a husband, not baby daddies. So he's already doing this like attack thing, which she didn't have kids out of wedlock. She had children by her husband or husbands. And regardless of what her background is, it doesn't change the information of what she's saying. That's what he doesn't understand. And that hat that he's wearing is absolutely crazy. That hat that he's wearing is absolutely, it's crazy. That hat is insane, yo. All right, let's keep going.
Well, Guzzo and Firstberg's study says that if you do have multiple baby daddies, the family has higher stress, more likely to have more mental health issues.
Okay, I gotta stop this. Is this guy about to make... I don't think he understands. He's about to make her argument for he's making her argument for her. He's saying that if you have like multiple kids out of wedlock and all this, it has bad outcomes. That's what she's saying.
Things that you claim that you care so much about, I do as well.
Stupid.
The Dorius study, lower income and families most likely in children have a lower education rate. The Rutgers study, you just talked about physical violence. The Rutgers study, which, by the way, these studies have just come out in the last couple of years. You could look it up if you would like on your phone. By the way, you want to go back to 50 years or 100 years ago, then why do you use a cell phone? I'm just curious. Why do you use a cell phone? You can laugh, but if you want to go back...
What? Why do you use a cell phone?
Back to the way things were 50 or 100 years ago, we were a slavery nation. Are we still a slavery nation now?
What? That's fucking insane. That's hilarious. He's bringing. Yo, that's crazy.
Do you want to go back to slavery? Should black people be allowed to vote?
Oh, man.
I'd love you to answer those questions. But anyway, going back to that Rutgers study, if you have multiple baby daddies, there's a much higher rate, in fact, a 24% higher risk of physical violence and sex abuse. A Halpern study, among other studies, you're likely to be below the poverty line if you have multiple baby daddies. Now, you might tell me right now, and I would believe you, if you said, I got through it, my kids grew up to be great people, and I would say, I'm happy for you, I think that's great. But why is it okay for you, but not okay for them? Why is it okay for you to say, well, you know what, I made some, maybe you won't say it was a mistake, I don't know, I'll ask you. But why would it be okay for you hypothetically to say,
why does this fucking matter? She just talked about she defended her point on why feminism is bad. What is he talking about right now? Why is he grilling her about her life and thinking that he's making points?
I made some mistakes, but, you know, everything turned out okay. My kids turned out okay. Why can't other women use those same excuses if they have kids after 30 or if they want their own career? If you want to be a stay-at-home mom with kids, I think that's great. Go ahead and do that. But if you want to be out there in the workforce and be a doctor or a lawyer, you should be allowed to do that too. And Bible thumpers shouldn't be telling you what you should or shouldn't do. That's exactly what you do, Rachel. So I'd like you to explain to this audience right now why it's okay for you to have 3 baby daddies, why it's okay for you to take those risks and those studies that I just mentioned for your kids, but why is it not okay for everybody else?
We will switch over to Rachel for her 5-minute rebuttal. Got the timer set for you, Rachel. The floor is all yours.
So what you just heard was amateur hour of somebody who does not know.
Yo, she's right. Amateur hour. Even worse than that, he doesn't know how to debate. Like, for real, he doesn't even understand how to debate. Like, it's absolutely shenanigans. Call shenanigans.
How to make an argument, somebody who doesn't know what a debate is or how to
Ad hominem
have a
attacks.
debate. You can't interrupt.
Ad hominem attacks. He just called out that she was making ad hominem attacks while he really opened up talking about how many baby dads she has and her decisions and this kind of stuff. He doesn't understand. Like, for real, I don't know if it's the lack of self-awareness, if it's the hubris that clouds. Like, I wish that somebody smarter than me could like watch these videos and give me like almost you know, an evaluation on this guy. I have no clue what's going on. He's so entertaining. He is the most entertaining person on the internet right now.
No.
Yep, go ahead.
Again, amateur hour. This is the person who did the ad hominem attacks. He didn't present an argument. He just said, what about you? He used a tu quoque fallacy. What about you, though? This debate has nothing to do with my life or your life or my personal life or your personal life.
We got to mute you.
Okay.
You're going to interrupt.
Control yourself, Brian.
Yeah.
Sean, please mute Brian.
Staggering lack of self-control. So again, another fallacy, a straw man fallacy. My argument was not that I can tell women what to do. My whole entire opening was just explaining what has happened to society in general, going over data. There was no condemnation of working mothers. There was no condemnation of women who need to leave abusive relationships like I did. There was no, we need to go back to slavery, which was 50 years ago, I guess. Again, not sure how this person is employed in media. But all that aside, he did not address any of the arguments I made.
None.
Which were that,
Zero.
actually what he did was support my arguments by saying,
He
yeah,
did. He
when
did
families
support
are
them.
broken
Yep.
up, it's bad for kids. When
Yep.
we see divorce, rampant divorce, children raised in single household families, it's bad for kids. Yes, it is. Now, if everyone was only getting divorced in instances of abuse or abandonment, we would see divorce rates much closer to numbers that we had prior to no fault. You would see, if you look at surveys, the reasons for divorce, things like legitimate physical abuse are very far down on the list. They're usually like 4th or 5th. The number one reason is irreconcilable differences. I fell out of love. Mr. Johnson down the street makes me feel sexy. I need to find myself. And the kids are resilient and they'll get over it. What I'm against is this frivolous breaking down of families to chase personal happiness. The kids don't get over it. We have massive studies on what happens to children after divorce. And as Brian brilliantly laid out, it's very bad for kids. We see the worst outcomes for children coming from broken homes. So the argument is not no one can get divorced. The argument is divorce should only be permitted for very good reasons. That was the historic.
And if you are watching, it would be cool, just throw a chat, just throw something in chat just to know, just to make sure I know you're watching, or just say hi. This is my first. And that pushing them to work out. Yeah, this is my first like live stream ever. So if you are watching, I really do appreciate it. If you throw something in chat, I can at least know you're watching. Say hi to me. Let me know if it sounds good, looks good, any of that. I need as much feedback as possible.
Outside the home, creating the two-income trap that's been laid for us by feminism reduced women's choices. It didn't give us more choices. There was never a time when women were not allowed to work. It just wasn't the norm because women already had a full-time job, especially prior to the birth control pill in 1965, when most women had an average of 3 to 7 kids, depending on what time frame you're looking at. That's a full-time job. It didn't make sense to send women out to do men's jobs. It didn't make any sense to push them outside the home and force them to work. And now women like me who want to stay home struggle and find that they can't, and find that they have to work when all they really want to do is be at home raising their own children, and they're forced to try to outsource that, which is why most women only have 1 or 2 children anymore. You can't afford to put 5 kids in daycare. So we have very small families, we have lower birth rates, and we have unhappier women who are now trapped in a different set of bad circumstances with abusive cohabitating partners instead of a husband who loves them and takes care of them. We're trapped in this two-income trap. We have women who are trying to juggle everything and balance everything and are struggling to do that, and they're reporting higher levels of anxiety and depression. I'm not here to condemn women. Brian's here to condemn me personally, apparently, which is the actual ad hom argument.
Again, like the thing is she's not really going to talk about him too much. She is going to throw some small jabs out, but it's not going to be the same thing as what he's doing. The ad hominem attack that he started with, like, this is his whole basis of argument. He doesn't understand how to defend his point. He didn't come prepared. He came prepared to, like, talk about her personally, while she came to, defend why feminism was bad. And she's doing a great job of it. And the worst part is this is what she's good at. Why would you even take this debate? Like, the fact that he made it to this stage with no recorded wins. So if you do any homework on Brian Shapiro, he's had some really high-profile debates that he's absolutely got washed on. He's been dog-walked in every single debate. And yet he's on a stage on Uncensored America and, modern-day debate, these large platforms, and he's never had a recorded win. I think they brought him here as, like, a heel. Like, he's a law cow, and I guess they just brought him in just to get absolutely decapitated by Rachel Wilson.
If he had an actual argument rather than just pointing at me, that would be fine. But if all he's here to do is say, well, but you got divorced because you were in an abusive marriage, that's actually not an argument. It supports my argument that you should be able to get out of abusive marriages, and you were. You were actually able to get out of abusive marriages prior to no fault.
Yeah, the idea that women couldn't get divorced and in abusive relationships, like, he thinks this. He thinks that before suffrage and women having rights, women could always get divorced if they were getting beat by their husbands. And anybody that doesn't know this is retarded.
No fault means you don't need a reason, and the other party does not have to agree. And that's where I think that we went wrong.
Thank you very much for that rebuttal from Rachel. We're going to So we're going into the 40-minute crossfire or open dialogue. I'm going to trust you guys, but if there are interruptions, I do have to jump in and break it into 90-second responses. So handing it off to you. The floor is yours.
Well, first of all, for somebody that wants to stay home, you're certainly out a lot debating people. So I really.
How do you, like, that's what, like, that's how you're going to respond to that? That she's like, yeah, as for somebody that talks like she's a housewife, you're out debating, like, that has nothing to do with the argument, man. I can't believe that this guy has a radio show or is in media at all. Like, whoever gave him the keys to anything is crazy. Like, the legacies that he's leaving, like, people aren't watching his shows because they're fans of his. They're just hate watching him. I don't hate watching him because I think he's interesting. I think he's really entertaining because I'm like, yo, how can you be this unaware? How can you be this detached from reality? Like, you don't read the thousands upon thousands of comments on your debates or your show where everybody's like, dude, this guy's a bait. This guy's a cuck. This guy's the worst. Like, he doesn't read any of this. He doesn't care. He thinks that they're all just haters. And it's like, I don't know, man. Maybe there are some haters. I'm not saying there aren't, but a lot of people are just giving you valid criticism and you can't take it.
Really don't understand that argument.
Well,
number
are you
one,
aware of the, well, let me
was
address that,
was that
since
10
this is
seconds,
the back and
or
forth.
Can I just finish?
Well, this is
'Cause
the back
that
and
was
forth.
like, I know, but that was like 10 seconds.
But you already
You
got
just-
it wrong. So my
Okay,
children
well,
are,
you got everything wrong.
my children
got
are
everything
grown.
wrong.
No, I got everything
I
right.
know they're grown.
They're
Can I
grown
just
up
finish?
and out of the house.
Can I just finish?
So
Okay.
I've never
I
said
finish?
that women can't leave the house when their kids
I-
have grown up and left, and that
Okay.
they can't.
Do you
like,
believe women
leave-
should be allowed to vote?
Do you think women are chained to the kitchen? Do you
I'm
think
asking you a
chained to
question.
the
Do you
kitchen?
think women should be allowed to vote?
I think it would be better if women and many other groups didn't vote. I would categorize women as one of the groups that should not. Yes.
Is there any other demo that shouldn't be allowed to vote, or is it just
Yeah,
women?
I think there's a lot of
And that sounds really harsh that she believes that women shouldn't vote. But if you heard her defense to this, I guarantee you couldn't refute it. It would all be emotional appeals. I've heard I've seen a lot of debates from Rachel Wilson. And one of the thing is there's a lot of people that get offended and they disagree, but there are no refutations. The way she defends this, you can't get around it. It's like, yo, most of the things that we complain about today, we wouldn't even be complaining about if women didn't vote. That's like the honest thing. That's like, I know it sucks, but that's true. If you watch how women vote, how they spend, how they think, you'll see how it's, when you extract it, how maybe women voting in the 19th Amendment did more damage than it did good.
A lot of different ways that you could limit suffrage that would make everything a lot more fair and a lot more efficient. I think that if you're taking more from the system than you get, so that would be a great way to limit suffrage. You'd have to be a net zero taxpayer. You can't be taking more than you're getting. So if you're getting more in SNAP benefits and welfare
So
than
voting
you're paying,
should be based on how much you pay in taxes, or if you pay
it should
taxes?
be based on whether you are contributing to the system or not. If you're taking more than you're contributing, no, you shouldn't be having a voice in governance. You should also have to take a civics test proving that you have some rudimentary understanding of how our government works.
A lot of people wouldn't vote for Donald Trump if that was the case. But anyway, okay.
And that's another thing too, is there's this guy he like has the craziest TDS, like the Trump derangement syndrome. He absolutely hates Trump supporters, like everything. He'll find a way on any subject to blame Trump for it. It's crazy. And he tries to do it a lot on this debate, but it just falls flat.
So you don't think that women should be allowed to vote? You don't think women should be allowed to vote? At least
Yeah,
if they're.
would you like me to explain why?
No, do you know why? you vote for this so
Nope.
well?
No, he doesn't want me to explain
Well,
why. I will
I
anyway
find
when
it.
I
I
get
find
there.
it interesting that you want to take away one of the most fundamental rights of a woman, which is being able to vote. By the way,
What is this? A fundamental right? Like, that's not true. When our country was set up, it was not a fundamental constitutional right that every single person has the right to vote. That is a lie. He does not understand history. I will never claim to be highly educated, smart. You're not going to hear me. You're not going to hear me die on the hill of hubris. I do my best to stay grounded, but I know enough to never ever say something like it's a fundamental right. We don't fundamentally have the right to vote. How come felons can't vote? How come children can't vote? Like, not everybody has the right to vote, but if you brought this up, it would be a wall for him. He wouldn't understand it.
Women are, as I think you're aware, bringing children into this world.
Not enough.
Well, yeah, why? Why is that? What's the number one reason why women aren't bringing children in?
Do you want to know like the actual correlate?
No, I want to know the
declining?
polls of.
So he thinks he has something written down that's going to defend on why women aren't having kids today. But any person that has done the research on this, the main reason is women empowerment. The reason why women are not reproducing and like, yeah, we're basically going to have population collapse, and that's happening right now, is because of women empowerment. Because when in the most fertile years of women, they're going to school, they're getting educated, and they're having babies when they're 30, 34 years old, this kind of stuff. When women in the past, by then they would have had 3 or 4 kids. And that's like truly the point. The women's empowerment is that feminism. The argument of feminism is one of the main reasons why women aren't having children. And also the idea that they have no duty as well, which is feminism as well.
The last 2 years, and women have asked, because I have the studies right in front of me right here, what is the number one reason, Rachel, why women aren't bringing kids into this world in the last 2 years? Do you know the reason for that?
I can tell you what the actual data says. The data says that the number one correlate to declining birth rates around the world in every culture, regardless of income or religion, is women's access to higher education and pushing them into the workforce.
Not true. So according to the Johns
Yes,
Hopkins School of Public Health, which have been polled for the last 2 years, they've done it 8 times. The Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, I'll take their word over yours, they say the number one reason why women don't want to bring children into the world is something called the economy, Rachel. Now let's talk a little bit about the economy
what's
real
that?
quick. Hold on.
What's that?
Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about that, Rachel.
Okay.
Why are people losing their medical coverage? Why are people losing their food stamps? Is it because they're just lazy and they don't want to work?
Okay,
You see, because
we're doing another straw man argument
it's a straw
because
man.
yes, because
Everything's a straw man argument.
I'll explain how you're wrong.
Yeah, I'll explain why you're wrong.
The only people who
Thanks,
do
Danny.
have,
Thanks, Danny.
Replacement
I just
birth
wanted to
rates
check to make
are
sure
the
it sounds
poorest
good,
people.
looks good.
So
And this
if
is my
it was
first time, you know,
economics,
this
we
is the
wouldn't see that
first
the only
one,
people
so we're going to be
having
doing this
children
more
would be
often.
the poorest among us, and historically everybody has had children during times of
So
much,
it's because of
much
poor
worse
people. You're
poverty.
saying the reason why is because poor people can't bring people into the world.
No, I'm saying listen very carefully.
So he's saying right now that when women were polled, when women were asked why they're not having children, is because they said the economy. So when you ask women, why aren't you having children? They say it's the economy. That's what that's the reason why women aren't having children, right? Dumb argumentation. Here we go. The poorest demographic have the most children. And throughout time, the poorest demographic have always had children. It's because of the materialism. It's because of rising like standards of saying, hey, like if I have a child, I can't go to I can't take trips. I can't buy a new car. Like women, because of feminism and because of this stuff, they have this higher standard than ever before. They don't understand duty. They don't understand, hey, wait, I can't buy my makeup this week because you know what? No, I'm not going to have kids. Like that's basically what it boils down to. Truly, that's what it boils down to. Why women aren't repopulating the world today is because they have no sense of duty. They don't feel like they have to. They don't feel like they're they don't feel like they have to. They don't, they'd much rather that they're very selfish. Feminism has bred this like selfishness into them. It's they focus on themselves. They do not find a higher purpose. They don't have a higher purpose. That's truly what it is. And again, that polling, just because you poll women and ask them why, that's not why at all. People have more money than ever before. People are in better economic, situations than they ever have been. And what he doesn't understand is like he's reading a poll that when you polled women on that's what they said. That's because she's going to bring up the fact that population collapse was happening when our country was in the best, when we had the best economy that America's ever seen. Women still weren't repopulating. It has nothing to do with that.
I'm
And
listening.
try to understand.
I'm listening.
The poor people are the ones having the babies. So the people who have the resources are opting out because they think their job is more important, because they want to take vacations, because they want to pay for a second
So when
vehicle
the
and
people
a
that
bigger
aren't
mortgage.
poor are polled and they're saying that the reason why they're not having kids is because of the economy.
It's
Are they
because they are
lying?
prioritizing a higher material standard of living, yes.
So what has changed then in the last...
Materialism.
So
She said it better than I could. See, again, I am not as smart as she is. A smart woman, you know. She's on point, but she's also, this is her field. This is her field, and that's truly the answer. When you were to, if you were to extrapolate this and just look at it, feminism and women's empowerment are the reason why women aren't having children. They don't, you know, they don't. Men have duties on this world, or in this world, women don't.
So
Atheism
what
and
is-
materialism.
Okay, so you think it's
Yeah.
atheism?
Yes.
You think it's
Atheism and
because they don't
materialism.
believe in God?
It is atheism. How does he not understand this? He can't grasp the fact that women alone, with no, you know, with no higher power or higher purpose, left to their own selfish desires, why would they have children? That's a burden to them. That's an obstacle to them. And when it comes down to it, is, you know, Christianity, even Judaism, even Islam, it promotes women to you know, to be fruitful, and prosper.
God, and
It's
that's the
because
reason why
they're
they're not having children?
prioritizing having stuff
Right.
and having a career over
So,
having
so
a
what
family.
should we do about that? What do you think? Do you think taking away
What should we do
healthcare
about
and-
that?
I
and-
think
and
what we
food
should
stamps
do about
is the
that,
right
I'll
thing
tell
to
you
do?
what we should do about it is what I'm doing right now, what Andrew does all the time, which is explain why atheism is retarded. And
Great. Now, this is a great part, right? This is a great part in the debate because he loses his mind. He's like a Karen. When he heard that word retarded in this, watch, he loses his full composure. It doesn't sit very well with him. Then he starts calling her retarded. It's insane.
why you shouldn't hold to secular materialist worldviews that have no grounding, that have no.
And remember, she didn't call atheists retarded. She said the belief system of atheism is retarded. Totally different thing. Walking around calling every atheist retarded, that's retarded. But the belief system, saying it's retarded and then having a bunch of like ways to back that up, that's not retarded. You know what I mean? And he can't understand that. All he heard was she just called every atheist. She just called every atheist retarded. That's all he heard.
Fundamental basis for morality and lead you into deaths of despair and lead you into an antinatalist position where you won't even reproduce yourself.
You know what? I think
You get what, like, he's about to, like, and again, she's completely hitting the nail on the head.
saying that makes you retarded. So
So
first
pissed.
of all, to use that word and to call, no, it's not cool for her to use that.
He's so mad. He's so mad. 2026, the hard R is fucking back. We are back. And guess what? Guys like me are the reason why it's back. So, you know what? If you said that word, subscribe. I mean, I don't know how many people are watching, but I'm one of those guys that, you know, I'll take it. You know what? Give me my roses, give me my flowers, because I've been holding on steady to that word the whole time when the dudes like him were telling me we can't say it. Yo, look at the bulge on his neck. Look at the bulge on his neck. That's hilarious.
That word. To say that just because we don't believe in what you believe, that people are retarded. Because
Bro, that's retarded.
That's hilarious. And again, that's what he's hearing. He just heard her say that all atheists are retarded. That's not what she said at all. She said the atheism as a belief system is retarded, and it is. It breeds subjectivity. It breeds like subjective morality. That's what it is when you have some type of religious frame to your morality, that is like, that's constrained. There's a box to that. It's not subjective anymore. You have an objective truth, an objective morality. And the thing is atheists do not. They do not have an objective morality, and that can lead to terrible results. Like if you don't have, where does your morality come from? Like for real, where does your morality come from? What makes something bad bad? Just because you said it is? Just because you feel like it is? Well, guess what? That doesn't get too far, man.
Okay, good. So let me be very clear, okay? Everybody has the right to believe in what they believe in. Everybody has the right. You can be a Christian,
Facts.
you can be an atheist. To call people
Hold on. Is that really true that birth rates now are lower than during the Great Depression? That is true. That's insane. Danny, that is insane. That he brings up a poll that says that women's main reason on why they were polled, they said the economy, when birth rates are now lower than during the Great Depression. If that's actually true, that's insane, bro. Okay, thanks, Tyler. This is my first time, so yeah.
Retarded because they don't believe in the religion that you believe in, or they don't believe in God.
I know. Oh,
is so beyond absurd and bigoted in nature.
Retarded?
It's ridiculous.
Is that what you're saying?
It's ridiculous. No, I think you are. So what I was going to say,
do you have an argument?
What I was going to say, just be quiet. Make Andrew a sandwich and be quiet. So
that's pretty misogynistic.
20 million. Andrew, do you have a cigarette? Because I need one right now. So listen.
I know it's got to be embarrassing getting your butt whipped by a housewife.
Yeah, you're kicking my butt, Rachel. Calling everybody retarded because they don't think like you is a wonderful argument to make. So 20 million people in this country have lost their health care because of what is in the big and beautiful bill. Millions
Donald Trump.
of people have lost their food stamps. And while people that are sitting over there think it's funny that people in this country are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, many of those people can't afford to have a child. And if they have multiple children, they have to work 2 jobs. They have to work 3 jobs. Now, what happens if a woman hasn't met the right man and she's in her 30s? What does she do there? What happens if a woman is a single woman trying to raise children? What is she supposed to do to raise those children? You know, the people who you support are against unemployment benefits, they're against maternity leave, and they're basically against every government program that would help that mother raise that child. These are the people that you support. So while you can call people retarded for simply not agreeing with your religious beliefs, you're mocking me for making arguments, and yet you want to insult everybody that disagrees with you. Let me be very clear. I support, hold on, 10 seconds.
At some
10
point,
seconds.
I have to be able to respond.
Okay, at some point you will. Finish the sandwich. So the point that I was trying to make was, I want everybody to believe in what you want to believe in. I'm not going to call you retarded because you don't want to be Christian, because
Facts,
you don't
Tyler.
want to be
That's
Jewish.
true,
By the way, I'm
Tyler.
not an atheist. I do believe that there is a higher power. I just don't consider myself an extremely religious person. I would never call you all retarded because you don't believe in the same religion that Rachel believes in. I don't live my life based on a book. You can. I choose not to. That doesn't make me retarded. It doesn't make you retarded. I know a lot of very intelligent people that do not believe in God. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean they're retarded. That is not an argument, Rachel. You're insulting millions and millions of people in this country that don't believe in what you believe in.
He's
Go ahead.
so pissed.
Okay. Go ahead.
So that was yet another straw man ad hom, not an argument, because, and I'll explain why. You know how long the birth rate has been below replacement levels? Any idea?
I'm sorry, are you asking me a question?
Yes.
What was the question?
How long have birth rates been below replacement levels?
I'm going by the last 2 years according to the Johns Hopkins School of Public
Answer
Health.
my question. How long have the birth rates been below replacement?
The data I have are the last 2 years.
Okay, he doesn't know, so I'll tell you.
So tell me.
It's been for about 50 years.
Okay.
So was Trump to blame for the birth rate being below replacement in the 1980s?
I didn't say that.
Okay, what caused it then? During the prosperity of the early 90s, when we had one of the best economies we've had,
I'll respond.
why was the birth rate below replacement then?
Sure. So I'll answer that, but I'll start by saying this. I don't know what's so funny.
He just doesn't know.
I have the study for the last 2 years. Now, I didn't bring up the study for why the birth rate was lower 50 years ago. And the reason why I didn't is in my opening monologue, what I told everybody is that I care about what's going on in this country
But I disproved
right
your point.
now.
My point disproves your point.
What are you talking about?
You
It's
said
the economy
you
right
said,
now.
You said
right now.
yes.
He doesn't understand. She just completely decimated his whole point. That dumb poll that he brought to the table, she just wiped it off the table. And he's like, what do you mean? He doesn't get it. Like, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. He doesn't even understand it. He doesn't even get it.
Yes, you said the reason women aren't
Right
having.
now.
Yeah, you
Right
said
now.
the reason is this.
Right.
I'm telling you, it's been this way for 50 years, so it can't be anything that's happened in
I
the
just
last
gave
2
you
years.
why women are not having children
Are you not
now.
able to follow logic?
Are you not able to listen to logic? I just told
That's
you.
not logic.
I just told you right now the reason why women aren't having kids now. Now I know you care about 50 years ago. I care
No,
about
I'm talking
right now.
about consistency over
Okay,
time.
and right now the number one reason is the economy. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Why don't you pay attention?
What I'm
Why
trying to
don't you
explain
listen?
to you is that even in the 90s, when the economy was at its best, women were still not having more
And
than
times change, and people change, and women have different opinions
What I'm
of why
telling
they're
you
doing
is
different things.
this disproves your theory.
No, it doesn't.
You can take one survey.
No, it doesn't.
What you have is one survey.
Yo, what I'll do is tomorrow I'll do a video on the guy. I called in his radio show, so I did talk to him today, and it was insane.
How many people were asked the question in the survey?
I have it right here. 18,000.
18,000.
Yes, 18,000.
And they
John Hopkins.
Right. So you don't think that it could be the case that when they say it's the economy, they're not saying we're starving. They're saying, look, I want to go on a cruise every year. I want that second vehicle. I want a higher standard of living,
Wait,
and
hold on.
I
Let
would
me
prefer
get
to
this
have a
right.
job and work.
So the
I can
reason
have
why
stuff.
women aren't having kids is because they want to go on a cruise.
It's
That's
because
not
they
Look at
want
his neck
a higher
vein.
material standard of living. And
Okay.
so
All right. How do you
now
know that?
Well,
How do you know that?
You did this big long monologue, so now I'm going to do one. If you know anything about the economics of the last 50 years and the birth rates, you would know that prior to pushing women into the workforce in huge numbers in 1970, most women with school-age children stayed at home. Overwhelmingly, there was only like 6% of kids who had a mom that worked full-time. During that time, the economy fundamentally changed into a two-income economy where rather than just having the basics, where a janitor who's a father of 5 can support all those kids on one income, and they can have a house in a nice neighborhood, they can have a car, they can afford groceries, and they can even afford to retire. Imagine.
I hope you guys are following along with this. She's dropping complete gems. Before the 19th Amendment was passed, literally a man could be a janitor and support the entire family. There was a family wage, basically. There wasn't two people that, individual income. That, like, literally within a few years after the 19th Amendment, products doubled in price because there was two people buying them. And ever since then, it's been a completely different, outcome because of that. So regardless if you disagree with women voting or agree, it doesn't matter. You can't refute it.
Such a thing. Like the baby boomers did. When we pushed women into the economy in huge numbers, it did a couple of things. The first is it created that two-income trap.
There it
where
is.
now you don't have a family wage, you have an individual wage. And on top of that, we changed from being more of a productive economy to what my friend Aaron Clary calls a she economy. And this is more of a service-based, consumer-based, debt-based economy where everybody is buying more than they can afford, they are financing everything, they are living well above their means, and it takes two incomes to keep this up. And this happened because we gave women a ton of free college. It wasn't really free. They had to pay it back. Women are now the majority debt holders. They have the most degrees, but they also go into life with an average of $50,000 in debt.
Are you against
so
student
yes,
debt forgiveness?
I'm not done yet.
Oh.
So yes, when you have a young woman who
Debt
spends
slaves.
all of her formative years going to school, she doesn't graduate college till she's at least 22, maybe later. She's got $50,000 in debt starting out, and she has to start a career. Of course she's going to say, I can't have a baby. I just started in life with debt and a career that I have to build. Otherwise, all this college I went to is for nothing. That's why I chose not to do it, because I wanted to have a family and I thought it doesn't make sense for me to do things this way. And a lot of women want to do that and feel the social pressure that they cannot make that choice because everyone around them goes, you've got to have your own money. You can't depend on a man. That's scary. He'll abuse you and you'll have to leave and it's going to be awful. And we don't fearmonger women about, let's say a woman wants to be a dentist and we say, well, what happens if you get arthritis? What if you hurt your hand or lose your fingers in an accident? You can't rely on being a dentist. What if something happens?
All right, let me jump in here.
So
Let me-
it's not that, just to summarize, it's not that women are too poor. It's not that people are too poor. We still have a much higher standard of living than we've ever had historically. It's not that we can't afford children. It's that we fundamentally transformed the economics of the country and people have different material standards that they want instead that they prioritize over family.
Okay, so just to repeat, she just said, it's not that women can't afford children. Rachel's in a situation where she has means and she has money. She doesn't speak for all the other women that were
Oh
in
my
this John
God,
Hopkins.
still ad hominem.
Where they all said that the number one reason was the economy. There could be all sorts of different reasons. I don't believe that the majority of these women said they're not having kids because they want to be able to go on a cruise, okay?
They got to pay their college
I don't believe,
debt.
I'm not done yet, okay? I don't believe that at all. She's making a gross assumption in assuming to form her argument that all these women are not having kids, and it's got nothing to do with any of the policies put forth right now. It's got nothing to do with the fact that they're living to paycheck or they're single mothers who can't get maternity leave. It's got nothing to do with any of that stuff, but it's forming her argument on that, which obviously I completely disagree. But she said something very interesting.
But you can't refute
The
it,
whole
though.
form of why I'm here today. She said she chose. She chose to do things in her life. And I would never want to take that away from you, Rachel, but you want to take that away from other people. And then you'll say, that's a straw man argument. You've said in this debate thus far, what are we halfway through, that she doesn't believe that the majority of women should vote. She thinks it should be on the level of
I don't think the majority
taxes.
of men should vote either.
Okay. Well, that's a great argument, Rachel. That's a great argument.
It is a great argument.
Yeah. So you don't believe women should vote, and you don't believe a certain percentage of men should vote. But everybody should be allowed to have a gun, though, right? If you're not a felon.
Yes, exactly.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
You know why?
That makes a lot of sense.
What? This was an argument about feminism. Now he's going to talk about the Second Amendment? How did he jump? How does his brain get to how do you make these? How do you track like this?
I think the founders were correct about
The
suffrage.
founders had muskets, Rachel. We have AR-15s
What does
now.
that have to do with
He's so mad right now. Look at his face.
suffrage?
Has a lot to do with
By
gun
the
control.
way,
Yo, listen to what he just said, yo. What?
this is a guy
So-
who's never shot a musket because if he thinks
Okay.
muskets, I'm a firearm.
Rachel, but you want to take that away from other people.
One more-
And then you'll say,
what?
That's a straw man argument. You've said in this debate thus far, what are we halfway through, that she doesn't believe that the majority of women should vote. She thinks it should be
I don't
on the
think the
level of
majority of
taxes.
men should vote
Okay,
either.
okay. Well, that's a great argument, Rachel. That's a great argument.
It is a great argument.
Yeah. So you don't believe
Watch
women
this.
should vote, and you don't believe a certain percentage of men should vote. But everybody should be allowed to have a gun, though, right? If you're not a felon.
Yes, exactly.
Right. That makes a
You
lot
know
of sense.
why?
He's
That
so
makes a lot
mad.
of
I think
sense.
the founders were correct about
The
suffrage.
founders had muskets, Rachel. We have AR-15s
What does
now.
that have to do with suffrage?
Has a lot to do with
By
gun
the way,
control.
this is a guy who's never shot a musket because if he thinks
Okay.
muskets, I'm a firearms instructor, by the way.
So
if he
think
thinks
about that for a
muskets
moment.
are less
I want you
dangerous
guys
than
to
some of the
think
guns
about,
we have
hold on,
now,
Rachel,
he would
calm
be
down.
wrong.
Don't spurg out. Calm down. So the bottom line here is she wants
so
to take
mad.
away the rights.
He wants to
of
take away your
people-
guns.
Are you-
Take away your
No, I
gun
don't.
rights.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Don't you let him take
No, I
away your
don't.
rights.
No, I don't. By the way, the people laughing right
funny.
there, that's the Andrew Wilson
Oh, my
circle
God.
jerk crew right over there. So I don't want
So
to take
mad.
away anybody. See, she's wrong. I don't want to take away anybody's right to own a gun as long as they're not a felon. I've never said that. By the way, as far as I know.
Then why did you throw that at me? Oh, you want
Because
everyone
of
to have
how
a gun?
I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because of how ridiculous her argument is.
Oh, I can't
She wants
wait.
to take
Explain.
away the rights of people to vote, but yet those same people that are not, as you said, contributing to society, go ahead and buy 10 guns and thousands of rounds of ammunition. I don't want to take your right away, no matter how smart you are or how stupid you might be or how much money you're paying in taxes. I don't want to take your rights away. I'm pro First Amendment.
Wait.
Listen, I've never said that I want to take all of your.
What did he just say? Did anybody else catch this? Did he just say he's pro First Amendment? What does that have to do with? I hope that was just a slip of the tongue. What do you guys think in the chat? Anybody watching this, do you think that was a slip of the tongue? Or do you think that he doesn't know what this, you think that he doesn't know the difference between First and Second Amendment? Which one do you think? He just said he's pro First Amendment. Now we're talking about free speech? I thought we were talking about guns. Well, wait, how are we talking about guns? This is debate on feminism. How did we get here?
Your guns away. And by the way, I can't think of one elected official on the left that said that either. Not that this is a gun control debate.
What? Did he just say that he knows no politicians on the left that want to take our guns away? I'm confused.
I don't want to take your right away to vote either. Listen, I get frustrated sometimes and I say, man, I wish stupid people weren't allowed to vote. Man, I wish those people weren't allowed to vote. But would I want to put a law in place to take that right away from you? Of course not. Maybe I could agree with some sort of basic, I know I had a conversation with Vivek Ramaswamy about this, and I sort of agree with him, that if you had some sort of basic civics test or something, I can't say I would be against that. Maybe we agree on that.
Great.
But the fundamental, if you're not making enough money, or you're unemployed, or you're poor, that should be a factor in whether you should vote or not. I completely fundamentally disagree with that.
Okay, so you think that people who take from the Treasury and raid the Treasury, take the tax money of those who are producing, should be allowed to vote in huge numbers to take more
When you
from
say
those
take,
people?
please be specific. You talking about welfare, food
Yes,
stamps?
I'm talking about anyone who takes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying poor people.
Yeah.
I was poor
Facts,
most
Danny.
of my life, but
So most of your life you shouldn't have been allowed to vote?
I
Is that-
wasn't taking more from the system than I was getting. So if you're on SNAP benefits, you're
Right.
on.
You can be poor and not be taking anything from the system. He doesn't understand this.
TANF,
Right.
you're getting Medicaid, you're taking tens to maybe hundreds of thousands from the government in subsidies and welfare, then no, you don't get to vote to continually steal from other people.
What about people that steal billions of dollars? Should they be allowed to vote?
They should go to prison if you can
What
prove
if they get
that.
a full pardon? Should they be allowed to vote?
Well, if you get a pardon, that's
He's going to Donald Trump now. In the feminism debate, he's already went to Donald Trump 2 to 3 times. He's got full-blown TDS.
the
Yeah.
legal system. What do
Gotcha.
you want
Okay.
me to do about
So
it? It's
if
going to be
you're-
more Trump
so hold on.
derangement syndrome.
So if you're somebody that has stolen billions of dollars and you get a pardon, you should be allowed to vote. But if you're somebody that is struggling, maybe living paycheck to paycheck, maybe doesn't have a job, maybe doesn't have the opportunities that some other people have, you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Correct.
I'm sorry, that is
okay, let's
absurd.
Let's ask another
Absurd.
question here. So I'll make a deal with you. I'll say all the women can vote.
No, I will not have a beer with your husband.
Nobody wants to have a beer with
Okay,
you, dude.
good.
Okay,
Thank you.
so
Thank you. Good.
all the
That's a
women,
relief.
all the women can vote if they have to sign up for the draft when they turn 18, like
Let's
the men.
talk about the draft. I'm happy to
Let's.
do that with you.
Okay.
So here's
That's a great point. I mean, she's bringing a point about equality up, the fact that women they're not going to ever be forced to sign up for the draft, yet they can vote. So they have no skin in the game, but they're, it's a great point.
here's my opinion on the draft, right? And here's my opinion on women, and I'm glad you brought that up. I believe that there should be a basic physical standard that both men and women need to pass. And if
That has nothing to do with the draft.
because, well, I think we all could agree in this room, on average, right, a man is physically stronger than a woman, on average. That doesn't mean that there aren't women out there that are pretty strong. So my opinion is pretty simple on this. If you can pass that basic physical standard that a man and a woman would have to pass, and they're willing to risk their life for this country.
You're talking about voluntary service. No one is barring women from the military, dude. We're
What's
talking
your opinion
about
on
the
that?
draft.
Should women be able to go to war? Should women be able to be there?
I asked you a question about the draft. Let's stick to my
Okay,
question
you don't
rather
wanna
than
answer mine?
switching.
Okay.
I think
He can't
if
do
women
this.
want the same rights as men, they should have to. If we want equality, let's have equality. I'll believe women want equality when they demand to sign up for the selective service, when they demand to be part of the industries where 92% of the workplace deaths are compromised by men, when they're doing 90% of the essential infrastructure work, that's equality. Equality is not a system where men do everything dirty, dangerous, and difficult. They die for the country, they die on the job, they die to defend the borders.
How many women have died
and
from
women,
childbirth since the early 70s?
Oh, I'm glad that you
my
asked.
God.
Not nearly as many as men.
How many?
Let me see if I have it in my notes. It's a very
Does he not understand that one's voluntary and the other one's involuntary? These aren't the same thing. How? Oh my God, how does this guy have a job?
very small number.
You think over 30,000 people is a very small number?
That's not what I had
That's
here.
what I have. Since the early 70s, over
Oh,
30,000.
since
Facts,
the early
Diego.
70s. Okay.
It's crazy.
How many men have died in workplace jobs since the early 70s?
I don't have those stats in
Well,
front of me. I
let's look
imagine
it
a
up.
lot of men have died in
More
workplace
than
jobs.
have died in
Sure.
childbirth, by far.
I don't deny
If you
that.
combine wars, so we're talking about voluntary versus involuntary. Nobody
Right,
is
I
forcing
understand
women.
that.
Nobody's forcing women to have children. We are forcing men
You don't?
to sign up for the draft, and we are forcing men to do everything that makes these lights, this live stream, these microphones possible.
So-
women do not build and maintain society. That's men.
So because women aren't forced to have kids, you don't think that's a sacrifice when they do have kids?
Oh my
When
God.
they make that
That's
decision?
not what she's
When a
saying.
man signs up for voluntary military service, yes, he is choosing to sacrifice.
Three women,
we commend
three women
him.
just came home in caskets from
Yeah.
Iran. You're
Anyone
aware of that, right?
who volunteers for either childbirth
I'm sorry
or
if this is giving you
military
guys a
service and
headache,
dies
yo.
is doing a great selfless thing. That's not what we're talking about, buddy.
I
You got to
understand
try
that.
to stick with the
I
argument.
understand that. I'm
We're
sticking
talking
with the
about
argument.
what men are compelled to do and what are women compelled to do on behalf of society that might kill them.
You know, I don't think women are forced per se to do anything, but what you are making the argument with us today is you're making the argument that women should be at home and be stay-at-home mothers and they shouldn't be out there in the workplace.
Did I say that?
Oh, so tell me that then. Tell me your opinion on women in the workplace. Do you
Sure.
believe that women should have the same opportunities as men in the workplace?
Yes, and they do. But what
do?
I will say,
They do?
yes, they do.
What's the average
obviously.
pay for a woman and a man
The
with the same
wage,
job?
Oh
the
my
wage
gosh.
gap reduces
Dude.
to about 3% when you
This guy's bringing up the wage gap. Hasn't the wage gap been debunked for like 10 years now? People that still believe in the wage gap are completely like, they're delusional. They're deluded. They're so detached. Dude, there's so much information that can prove this stuff as just being complete propaganda. The wage gap, that women get paid less than men. If that was the case in a capitalist society, every large corporation would just hire a bunch of women if they could pay women less. If they could pay women less legally, that's all you would see is just every large company would say, "Hey, how do we save money? Let's just hire a bunch of women." It's insane. But if you guys want me to explain why the wage gap, she was going to explain it, but the wage gap has been debunked completely.
You take into account the fact that women choose easier, lower paying jobs, easier, lower paying degrees than men on average, and take much more time off and much more time away from work.
This is the problem with this
But
argument.
you're skipping ahead, and you didn't let me finish the point here. We're talking about how men are forced and compelled to possibly go to war and die, and we have no such responsibility for women. No one's forcing women to do anything to defend the country. No one's forcing women to go work a job that could kill them.
We don't have
Men
we don't
do
have
that.
civilization without women bearing children.
We don't have
I understand that
civilization
they're
without
not.
men building
I
it.
understand that they're not
Why
forced
is there
to.
why
I
is
understand
there
that.
Why do men have to sign up for selective service at age 18? Or do you know what happens to them if they don't? They get in big trouble, don't
Here's
they?
why.
And they lose
Here's
rights,
why.
don't
Here's
they?
why. As I said earlier, women as a whole are not as physically enabled as
That's
men
why.
on average.
Right.
On average. That is why I said, and I'll repeat it again, I wouldn't have a problem with that if they both pass the same physical
You're
standard.
not addressing my question.
I'm completely addressing your question. I never
Do
said that
men
women
have to
have
pass-
to
do
sign
men
up. I
have
never
to
said
pass
that.
You're
the
right, dude.
physical
She's
test
not
to
trying
sign
hard
up
at
for the
all.
draft?
This is
I never,
this
I
is
never made that claim.
this is light
I'm
work.
telling
Talking
you-
about the draft. Stick to the draft.
I understand what we are
You're
talking
talking about when people go sign up for military service and go to boot camp. I'm not talking about that.
Well, that's the argument that I'm making. I'm making because you're,
That doesn't address the question. The
I
question
never
is,
made the
if men
claim.
and
He's terrible at this, and she's not even trying, like Diego said. She's not trying it at all. This is light work.
If men and women are equal, why is there a standard
Okay,
for men that there is not for women?
So men and women are equal. As I've said before, there are attributes that women have that are stronger than men. There are attributes that men have that are stronger than women. I never said as a whole, with every job, men and women are equal. I'm not making that argument. The argument of this entire debate here is, the point that I'm trying to make, is that I don't want to interfere in other people's lives.
That's really cute. That's so virtuous of you. It has nothing to do with anything.
Well, I think it has.
I don't want to tell anyone what to do.
She doesn't want women to vote. She thinks women should be second-class citizens. Tell me you haven't said that.
I have not said that women should be second-class
You've never
citizens.
said that in any debate.
I said that.
You think I've said women should be second-class citizens?
Never
I said that.
No, maybe as a joke.
Oh,
I said that at Thanksgiving dinner with my girlfriend's family.
maybe as a joke. Okay.
I say a lot of stuff.
It was just a joke. It was locker room
Tell
talk.
me when I said that.
I heard you in a debate say
you
that
heard me?
you said women should be
That's a
second.
joke.
Now, are you saying you were joking?
I don't ever remember saying
You don't
women
remember.
should be
Okay.
second-class
Okay.
citizens.
You don't remember. Okay. You don't
What
remember.
debate was it?
I think that's interesting.
I think you're lying. What debate was
You-
it?
I
He's
think
lying.
you're lying.
What debate was it?
Was it a joke?
Who was I debating?
I'll look it up. Was it a joke?
You're lying. I didn't say that.
When I was doing
Do
debate
you have
prep,
proof or not?
when I was doing debate prep,
Do you have proof or not?
I will provide you the proof.
Okay.
So you're saying you never
Provide-
said that?
No, I never said that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
So back to the draft. Why is it that men have to sign up for the selective service or risk losing their voting rights and even their freedom, but women don't? Why?
Well, I just gave you the answer. As a
Because-
whole, in general.
So men and women are different, and they serve different
When did I say
purposes.
that they were exactly the same?
I'm not
That would
saying
be
you
the most
did.
ridiculous
I'm saying,
thing. I never said that.
Why should women have the exact same political power as men when, as the anti-suffrage women brilliantly argued, they said, look, the purpose of government is to protect persons and property. That's the function
So
of
the
government.
argument is because
and women
when we're
cannot
born,
do that.
when we're born, as on average, as I've said, men might be on average stronger than women.
He really thinks this is an argument. He really thinks he's arguing right now. How can you be this delusional, yo?
Because of that premise, and they have to sign up, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. I completely disagree with that premise.
Well, refute it.
Why?
What's
it's
your
because
argument?
Argue
I haven't
it.
heard an argument. I've just heard you go, oh, I can't believe what she said. Can you believe what she's saying? She called people a word. She said women should be second-class citizens. He wants to take away your rights.
I think if
No
you're not
argument.
a Christian, you're retarded. That's my
I
impersonation
think
of
you should give me an argument.
Okay, well, bad impersonation. Okay, bad
Oh
impersonation.
my God.
I
I
never
don't
said
have a stupid hat.
bad impersonation.
It's true. That hat is dumb.
Now give me the argument.
That is
please.
so
Do
dumb.
you really want to go there?
For real, come on, guys. If you are watching this, please, in the chat, let me know how dumb that hat is. The fact he went out the house looking like that, or that's part of his daily ensemble, like, I know what I sign up for when I wear a gold grill and I dress like this, but that shit looks dumb. Like, yeah, it looks dumb, dude.
There?
I
crazy.
Want
You want to
give
go
me
to
an
personal
argument.
physical attributes?
I want you to
No,
give
it wasn't
me
a physical
argument.
attribute. It was
what
a
you're
dumb
gonna
hat.
I mean, do you want to have a modeling contest, Brian? I don't think you're going to win.
Okay, I don't think you're going to win either.
Fair enough. Now
Yeah.
give me an argument.
Please.
Tell me why. Tell me how
already-
we're supposed to have equality between the sexes when one is expected to die
I will
on
tell
behalf
you
of
why.
the other. Okay, tell
And
me.
I've tried to explain this to you. Okay? Women have certain things that they are better than men at. Women have certain responsibilities, like bearing children, if they decide to have
If
children.
they want
The
to.
argument that you're making is, well, it's a choice for a woman to have a child. Okay, yes, it is a choice. I understand that. But still, my point being is that just because women don't have to sign up for the draft shouldn't be a reasoning why women should not be allowed to vote. Let me ask you, and I'm
You
going to
just
go.
restated the position.
Again,
You
he's
did not
saying
give
it
me an
again.
So
argument.
let me ask you a question. then.
Why? What would be
Because
the differentiator?
women don't have to sign up for the draft. I know. Look at your husband for.
He's
for
so
advice. I know,
handsome,
he's
I
so
can't help
smiling.
it.
I know. By the way, this is I want
It's
to go
rough
there.
looking
I
this
won't even go
way.
there.
I want to take a break and look this
Yeah.
way.
I will say this,
Now, if you
since
can
she
give
wants
me
to
a-
get
if you can give me
since
an
she wants to get
argument.
personal with me because she's been doing that.
He doesn't want to have to actually give an argument. All he just did, by
An
the
argument.
way,
You're
was restate
you're
the position.
you're insulting
I
my
don't
physical
think-
appearance.
He said, I don't
You've
think
called
they
people.
should.
That's all he's doing is just restating it, restating it, restating it. He has not argued the point at all. He's not refuted anything she said. I don't know how he thinks he's doing anything. He hasn't refuted anything that she said. And remember what Off the Books is all about. A disagreement without a refutation should be completely and utterly disregarded.
Retarded
I
for not
don't
agreeing
think
with
they
you.
should.
And,
You have
and
an
you're
argument?
talking to me about forming an argument?
Yes.
You've called millions of people
All you
retarded that
have-
don't agree
yes,
with you.
you're very
and now you're
outraged.
talking to us
You're
about
very
how
offended.
handsome your husband is.
He is.
You couldn't be more insecure.
He's so handsome.
I will say this, though. The
Look
other
at him,
day,
he's so cute.
when we had our little, kind of funny, we had our little Twitter spat, she spent all day trying to convince strangers how hot her husband was. Little strange.
Woo!
Little
Look
strange.
at him, yeah.
Little strange. Listen, I think
Wow.
if you're in a healthy relationship, you should think your husband is hot. If you're married to a woman, you should think your wife is hot. I just think it's a little weird trying to explain to
Andrew's a
thousands
lucky
of
guy, yo.
complete strangers trying to convince them that your husband is hot.
Okay,
I don't know,
now,
it's a little weird.
Now, rather than
it's a little
you,
strange, that's
now,
all. It's a little weird.
Rather than you restating your position of, I just don't think so, tell me why
I've
women
told
should.
you
No, you just
over-
restated the position.
No, I've
That's all
told you.
did.
You're not,
said
Rachel,
they
you're not
shouldn't
listening.
Because they shouldn't.
Rachel, you're not listening.
I'm listening. You're not thinking.
You're right. No, I'm thinking you're not listening, okay?
Simply restating
So-
the position is
so,
not an argument.
Rachel, I'm not stating the
You
position
did.
over.
You
I'm
said,
giving
"I
you my
don't think that-"
opinion
Okay,
on
try
what we are
again.
discussing.
Try
okay?
again.
I've already tried. You're not paying attention, so I'll say it again, okay? There is no question that there are sacrifices that men have to make that women don't have to make, like being in the draft. I agree with you,
Okay.
However, there are sacrifices that women have to
Like
make.
what?
That,
Like what?
Like bearing children and
But
being
that's-
pregnant and having
but
kids.
that's
I never said they. I
voluntary.
never said they had to
That's
do
a
it.
category error.
I never said they had to do
Let
it.
me help this man
Ugh.
with another logical
There we
fallacy.
go
It's
again.
called a category error. We are talking about an involuntary thing, which people are compelled by the government to do, versus a completely voluntary
Well, we're going to
thing
agree to
that
disagree.
nobody even dares
We're going to agree
tell
to disagree on
women
that.
to
Do you think women are bad in the government? Do you think they're bad
the-
representing in government? Because you said that in your book, right? You
What
think-
the
I don't
heck?
think women should be in
Oh my
politics now.
God.
But
don't.
you still haven't given me an argument
Well,
for,
I
for
mean,
why.
we can beat a dead horse, but I'd like to move on to another topic. Do you
I'm
think,
sure you would,
Do you
because
think
you
women
had-
are
you
bad?
just- I
no,
just
because
won
we
that
only. How
point.
much time do we have left in this debate? There's a lot of other things that we should be discussing. Yeah, exactly. 10 minutes more. You think women are bad in government, right? You don't think they should be in government. You don't think
Right.
they should be politicians, right?
Yes,
Why
correct.
is that? Why do you think that way?
Because the purpose of government is for the protection of people and property, and women
Good.
are not able to accomplish that. Women, there's a
Yep.
reason, by the way, that historically women couldn't own property. It's because they can't defend it. So as a
Yep.
woman, if I owned like 100 acres of land in 1845, how am I going to protect it
Yep.
from bandits, from marauders, from people
I hate
who
to
want to
break
just
it
come
to
and
Rachel,
steal it?
but-
I would need, you asked me a question, so I'm answering.
Yeah,
I
lady.
would need men to do that on my behalf.
Hmm.
I think the reason that we shouldn't have women in government is because men are the only people who can defend the borders, who can enforce the law.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen what happens when you try to put female law enforcement officers on the streets and on the border. It doesn't work
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
out very well. We need men, and we rely on them to protect persons and property.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Therefore, that's the task of
Let's
men,
talk
not
about
of women.
protecting. Let's talk about COVID for a moment. Female leaders.
What?
Yeah, let's.
What the? Yo, we're talking about feminism. This dude's jumped to Second Amendment, gun rights, and all Trump, Trump, and now he's talking about COVID. How is this possible?
COVID. Okay, sure. Tell me how
Why are
this
you
is gonna-
laughing at
'cause
COVID?
it-
Millions of people died of
It
it.
had
Millions
better
of people-
tie back to feminism.
Why are you
Because
laughing?
we're debating feminism.
He's so outraged. Look at his moral indignation. Look at it. He's just offended. He's a male Karen, yo.
You think
You're
COVID's
bringing up-
funny?
I think it has nothing to do with feminism.
Okay, well, why don't you shut up and let me finish and make him a sandwich again and
Are
let
you
me
mad?
finish.
Are you
No,
getting a
you're
little
just
emotional?
respect.
Like, he's like, these people are misogynists and bigots, but he'll tell a woman to her face to go make a sandwich. Like, what is this?
I'm trying to make a point. I let you talk. Be quiet. Let me talk. There's a reason why I'm bringing this up. You said
turning
women.
red.
You said women shouldn't be in government positions.
Yes, correct.
I am telling you, during COVID, female leaders were far more successful than men in dealing with COVID. Globally, women only held 7% of leadership positions. 4 of the top 10 countries that were run by women, and in this study, the death rates, 13 countries led by men, 8 led by women. The male per capita, 214 deaths per million that were led by men. Led by women, 36 people per million. Look, you could look up that stat. Now, why? You could say maybe it was ego. You could say maybe it was bad policy. You could say maybe it wasn't listening to experts. Whatever the case may be, the women that were in power in these countries led to 36 people dying per million. By the men, 214 deaths per million. So if your premise is that men should be in power in these positions and women shouldn't, then what is your explanation there? Because if women weren't in power, more people would have died.
Do you believe in freedom and liberty?
I think I've made that pretty clear.
Okay, well, the reason for those statistics is that women were notoriously tyrannical, like the Prime Minister of New Zealand locked down New Zealand tighter than a prison camp. What? And the fastest way to get rid of liberty and freedom is to put women in charge of the government, because they overwhelmingly bring in tyrannical welfare states.
I just gave you the stats of how they saved lives.
Yes, by locking down their countries, by not letting people go to work, by shutting down businesses, by forcing people to take vaccines.
So first of all,
you think forced vaccination
First
is
of all,
freedom?
I find it repugnant that people in this crowd are laughing at the fact that less people died because maybe you couldn't go to the mall, okay? I find that despicable, number one.
You were
number
one of those
two,
people chasing people around with masks,
No,
weren't you?
actually, I was one of those people that almost died of COVID. I was in the ICU. Hold on a second. I was in the ICU for 2 weeks. I saw people die around me. And the last breaths
very sad.
no, it is sad.
How do you feel
and the
about
last
forced
breaths that
Yes,
some of
the
those
last
people
breaths.
made,
So much drama.
they didn't think that COVID was real. The reason why this is a personal topic to me is because I almost died from it. And I would imagine, sadly, I wish this wasn't the case, I would imagine a lot of people in this room know people that died of COVID. It was horrible. I don't want innocent people to die. Of course I want people to have their freedoms. Of course I want people to go out and be able to live their lives. The only point that I was trying to make was that women that were in these positions during that time, during COVID, saved lives, and they did a better job than men. Now, if you think they're woke and they shouldn't have closed and everything should have been open, you're entitled to that opinion.
How do you feel,
I disagree with you.
How do you feel about forcing people to take
I've
experimental vaccines?
I've always said that I never felt like the vaccines should have been forced on anybody. I disagree with people that said that.
That's what women did when they were in charge.
But these women that were in charge of these countries, and by the way, that's not entirely factually accurate. So let me ask you a question. Do you want us to look like a third world country? Is that what you want?
Well,
No.
You don't want that. Okay.
Explain.
Well, let me ask you this.
Are we still talking about feminism, by the way?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes, we
Can
are.
you
Because
bring it
when
back
you
and
take
land
an
the
entire
plane?
society and you say that women shouldn't vote, women shouldn't be doing these specific things. I don't want to look like
what specific things?
I don't want to
did I
look like
say?
Afghanistan. You are pushing.
I didn't say that.
You are pushing a narrative.
So it's either progressive liberal enlightenment or it's Sharia law in Afghanistan.
I didn't say that.
What do you think Western
didn't say
culture
that.
looked like for all of its history?
Can you
Women
please-
can have plenty of liberty
We have like
and
5
not
minutes, right?
run the country.
Okay, about 5 minutes. 'Cause
Putting
for time,
some limits on
time
women is not
constraints.
the same
Rachel,
thing as
we only have
Sharia
5
law.
minutes, so time
well,
constraints.
You've spent all the time
In
talking
your book-
about Trump
in your
and
book-
COVID and all kinds
Well,
of
yeah,
crazy
because
stuff.
I gave you examples of women in government that
and
I
you've
thought did
still
a good
not
job.
made a single compelling argument.
Actually, I did. They saved lives, and obviously you don't care about that. Did you say in your book that Miley Cyrus, Cardi B, Katy Perry, Beyonce, because they stick their tongue out, they're invoking some Hindu goddess
oh
and
my,
they hate men?
embarrassing.
Is that why they stick their tongue out?
They literally say in their songs
They do.
they hate men. Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
You
they-
talked
they
about
literally
sticking.
say-
No, in your book you
Yes.
said because they stick their tongue out. You
Yeah.
think, okay, can you please explain that to the, because according to your theory, Gene Simmons must want to kill men too. When women stick their tongue out, could it just be possible that maybe they're just doing it because they enjoy it or it's something they do?
I said in the book,
Mm-hmm.
whether they know it or not, this could be invoking forms of ancient goddess worship, and they do in their own songs talk about it. That's not
So
really,
hold on. So because
that's not
Miley
really
Cyrus
permanent.
sticks out her tongue, that must mean that they hate and they want to kill men.
I didn't say that.
In your book,
It
you were
doesn't
talking
say
about
that.
invoking the Hindu goddess
Let me
because they
ask
stick
you
their
something.
tongue out.
Did you read the book?
That must mean I want
That's-
to kill men too.
Did
I don't
you
know.
read the book? Because you said you weren't.
I
going
read
to.
excerpts of the book.
You-
Sure.
Yeah, Chat
sure.
GPT.
Sure.
Because that's not what I said.
Oh, so what did you say? So what? So talk to me about women sticking their tongue out.
Well, just briefly, because it's not actually relative to whether feminism is good
It
for
is.
women and children.
You're attacking
which
women
is-
for sticking their tongue
I'm
out.
not I'm attacking women.
You're right. They're Hindu goddesses, and they
That's
want men.
not what I said. Anyone who's read the book would know. By the way, go buy it. It's on Amazon. Occult Feminism: The Secret History of Women's Liberation. It will
If I had
explain,
it-
though.
if I had it, I would
will
use it as
explain
toilet paper.
how during the 70s there was a big goddess worship revival in the West that coincided with feminism, and that they do still now. If you go to TikTok, look up the hashtag witch talk, and you will see feminists showing you how to perform ritual abortions, how to worship ancient goddesses like Lilith and Inanna, and they take it very
Well, you
seriously.
really are
Do you
nut.
know that I'm not nuts?
You
Witchcraft,
are absolutely crazy.
Okay,
Batshit
well,
crazy.
I'm not crazy. Witchcraft.
Sticking your tongue out.
Witchcraft is the #1 fastest growing religion among young women in the West. Did you know that?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know why?
So that's not me.
You know why?
That's them telling you that.
No, I know
They're
that.
telling you they believe it.
I am very very
Now, whether
aware
you
of
believe
that.
witchcraft is real or not doesn't matter. They're
Well,
saying
you know why?
they believe it.
You know why I feel that way? Because I think most people that are into that think that it's inclusive. It's not oppressive,
That's
maybe
right.
like
That's actually
Christianity.
correct.
They
That's
feel
what
like
they say.
feel like maybe that it's empowering.
So you love witchcraft.
I'm going by why I think you could make.
Witchcraft is cool, you guys. It's very inclusive. It's very
Well,
progressive.
you believe in the Bible, right? And God killed 2.4 million people in the Bible. Is that
Based.
oppressive? I don't know.
I believe in Orthodox Christianity, and I'm not going to get
Based.
into a Bible
Of
debate
course
with
you're
you
not.
because
No, of
it's
course you're
beyond the scope of this.
So here,
This
we
discussion.
only got a couple minutes
Show
left
me
here.
So, do you have an argument? Tell me how feminism has improved the lives of women and children when I just opened with all these statistics proving that
I'll
we
use
are,
your argument
we
because
are
I want to
worse
move
off.
on to one other thing, but I'll just use the argument that you used 20 minutes ago. It's retarded. So
What's retarded?
There's a lot of
Feminism?
problems. There's a lot of
Feminism is
okay. So hold on.
retarded?
There's a lot of problems in
So
this
he
country.
agrees with me?
I think we all know. Okay. There's a
You
lot
didn't
of.
answer the
there's a lot-
question.
I'm
How has-
finished. Hold on. We have 3 minutes left here. We have a lot of problems in this country. We've talked a little bit about it, right? Education, healthcare, jobs, debt. This is why Republicans, women, female Republicans, are not entering.
Female Republicans.
The reason why is because this is what Rachel is focused on. She's not focused on those other topics that I just brought up. I think a lot of people are. It's an uninspiring ideology that you have.
What are you even talking about?
I'm talking about your ideology. I'm talking about
Patriarchy?
I'm talking about your ideology
What's
and the
my
reason why
ideology? What's
I
it
think you've
called?
made it very clear to everybody what your
Patriarchy.
ideology
Yes,
is. I think it's very
patriarchy.
clear what you think women should be doing. Listen, as I've said before.
Having families with good men who protect them and take care of them, yes, I think that's great.
And what if a
Are
woman?
you against that?
And absolutely not. What would you say to a woman that hasn't found the right man? She's in her mid-30s. What
Oh
should
my
she do?
God.
Go to church.
Go to church.
Yeah.
So you think church will help her
I think
find?
she could find a good man in church.
But there are women out there, 30s, 40s,
Yeah.
that haven't found the right man.
Well, is it that they haven't found the right man, or is it that they've been through about 50 men and haven't
You
wanted to
shouldn't
lock
talk.
any
You
of them
shouldn't talk
down?
about yourself like that, Rachel.
I've been with a handful, like less than 5. So, no, I'm
Without
talking about.
feminism, you would not
I'm
have been allowed
talking about-
to break up with those men,
I
right? Would you
didn't.
agree with that?
I didn't.
You weren't married to any other men?
I was, but I
Okay.
didn't initiate
100 years ago,
divorce.
you wouldn't have been able to
I
divorce.
Why is he doing this? This is an ad hom attack again, a real one. This is not good. She has all of her kids she had with husbands, and the idea that women couldn't get divorced in the past is insane. That's not true.
Them, right?
I didn't divorce them. I was abandoned by an abusive person.
Okay, so
Yes.
100 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to.
Yes, you would have. I just told you that in the year 1900, 55,700 divorces were granted to women who were in abusive marriages. So yes, I would have. And by the way, one more thing.
Disagree.
I would be able to be here without feminism. This is a very
would?
stupid, silly rebuttal. Yes.
Dumb.
It's not stupid
Mary
at all.
Wollstonecraft, yes, the anti-suffragists were having public debates against suffragists in 1848, you dumbass.
I understand that.
So women were
So-
allowed to speak publicly. Women have always been allowed to
So-
speak. They've been allowed to write books, and they have been allowed to be part of the public discourse even far before they could vote. He is is ignorant and doesn't know his history.
Yeah.
I hate to
So-
do this, but
so-
we really do have to transition. I hate to do it, but we do have to, as we are limited on time, as we've already gone.
She called me a
over
dumbass, but
time
okay, go ahead.
For the cross section.
You are.
Well,
I
don't
guess
be a
I can't
dumbass.
respond to that.
And just, well, someone has to have the last word during the open dialogue.
Go ahead.
We
No
do
problem.
have to go to the Q&A, which I'll ask you
Sure.
folks to get ready for in just a second. But first, I want you to get ready for some groundbreaking news from Farm Easy Bank, your trusted.
All right, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I think that you guys get the point. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of doing this tomorrow, I'm going to do this tonight. I'm going to let you guys know what happened with the call-in. So he does a show, a daily show, in daily radio show, and it was a complete cope fest. I wanted to watch today to see what he was talking about, and literally it was a 2-hour cope fest. All justifications, not understanding. All the people, most of the people in the comment section on his own page were all just like being, utterly honest, like, dude, you lost. So what I wanted to do is I just wanted to test his self-awareness, and just, I super chatted him and was like, hey man, honestly, could you rank your performance from 1 to 10? And when I did that, he basically, I don't know, when I did that, he told me that he didn't understand the question, so he wanted me to kind of like expand on. He told me that he wanted me to expand on it. So then I actually called in. So let me find this guy's stuff real quick. I wasn't going to do this today. Let's see. Sorry guys. And this is my first time doing this, so give me a second. I know where it was. So when I called in today,
Andrew, are you there?
this is where we were, right around here, maybe? Right around here?
I think we're going to go to Joey.
Okay, there we go. So basically, I called him today, and I wanted to ask him, hey, 1 to 10, I wanted to see how self-aware he was. 1 to 10, how do you feel like you did with your performance in that debate? Just to test to see like where he was. So this is how it went. It's pretty delusional, because I give him the definition of what a debate is.
Joey is calling out of Las Vegas on line 4. What's up, Joey?
Hey, what's going on? Hey, hold on one second. I'm listening to you at the same time. Hey,
All good, all good.
No worries. Hey, I just wanted to ask, because you asked me to kind of expand. You wanted me to expand. I'm the guy that did the super chat about asking, from 1 to 10, how do you feel about your performance?
Right.
So the purpose of professional debate, it's to foster critical thinking, persuade audiences, and rigorously test arguments.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that. That's not my reason.
He disagrees. He disagrees with the definition of what a debate is. So right there, I gave him the definition of what a debate is. So could you give me 1 to 10 on how well you performed in a debate? Not what you think a debate is, not whatever you came there for. Like, he's doing the same thing to me that he did in that debate. He can't even stay in the constraints of what we're talking about. So again, I gave him a definition of what a debate is, and he couldn't even stick to that.
The purpose of professional debate, it's to foster critical thinking, persuade audiences, and rigorously test arguments.
Yeah, well, I disagree with that. That's not my reasoning for why I went out there. So, I mean, I understand that's a basic definition of what a debate is. I get it, what you're saying, Joey, but that's not me. That's not who I am. I'm not trying to convince anybody. And by the way, I said that in other debates.
And that's the craziest thing. A debate isn't even he thinks that a debate is to convince people. A debate is not to convince people at all. There's going to be 2 points, a pro and a neg, and to see which one is which one wins. It's not about convincing anybody. I mean, yes, there are going to be people that are going to judge who's defending the points better, but that's not the point of a debate. Like, he doesn't even look, and I think he's wearing the same hat. What kind of hat is this?
When I debated Dyer, let me be very clear. There was nobody in that crowd that I could have convinced anything differently. They're psycho fans, and I'm sorry.
People that are watching.
Did he call them psycho fans? Is that something called, is he trying to say sycophant? This guy messed up a bunch of stuff. When they started talking about suffrage, he said, I don't want women to suffer. He messed up he confused the Second Amendment with the First Amendment. I think he just confused the word sycophant with psycho fans.
That's not my reasoning for why I went out there. So, I mean,
I
I
didn't
understand
ask
that's
his
a
reasoning.
basic definition of what a debate is.
Did I ask his reasoning on why he went at all? Or did I give him a definition of what a debate is and ask him 1 to 10, how well do you think you did? That's all.
I get it, what you're saying, Joey, but that's not me. That's not who I am. I'm not trying to convince anybody. And by the way, I said that in other debates when I debated Dyer. Let me be very clear. There is nobody in that crowd that I could have convinced anything differently. They're psycho fans and they're,
Well,
I'm
there are
sorry.
people that are watching, though.
Okay,
people
the
that are
people that were watching on Modern Day Debate and the people that were watching on Uncensored America are all Myron Gaines, Andrew Wilson fans. I'm giving you my personal.
I had my mom.
And now the people that are watching are off the books, you know what I mean? So thank you guys so much for tuning in, because this is my first one, and I'm glad you guys are truly here because, again, this is my first time in the new podcast station. The new setup. I really do appreciate you guys hanging out. It means more than you would ever know.
Convinced anything differently. They're psycho fans and they're.
Well, there
I'm
are
sorry.
people that are watching, though.
Okay,
people
the
that are
people
watching.
that were watching on Modern Day Debate and the people that were watching on Uncensored America are all Myron Gaines, Andrew Wilson fans. I'm giving you my personal.
I had my mom. No, I had my mom.
I'm glad your mom watched. That's great. As a whole,
Yeah.
my friend, I would say that, and I'm just giving you my personal opinion on my approach when I have discussions with anybody, debate, argument, whatever you want to call it. I'm not trying to change anybody's minds. Now, if people call into the show and they say, hey, Brian, and it happens from time to time, I shouldn't have voted for Donald Trump. I made a mistake. I
Donald
listened
Trump.
to your show. Okay, great. That's great. But I'm not trying to change anybody's minds. Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm giving you my point of view, my opinions. You make your own choices and your own opinions. I was never going to change the Wilson's mind, and I was never going to change anybody's mind in that crowd. That's just my personal opinion, Joey, and we will have to agree to disagree on that.
Well, can I just do a follow up? Like, I know
Sure.
you're making your own I know you're making up your own definition of what debate is. I'm asking you, like, with the definition that's already available, how well do you think you perform?
So you're asking me a question going against my beliefs and what my objectives were? That's a little
Yeah, what? He just can't get it.
bit unfair, don't you think? I thought I did fine.
No, I'm.
Yeah, okay, well, I'll answer that. I'll answer that.
And for real, is it, guys, anybody watching this, is anybody watching this and you guys watch this with me, is it a little bit delusional to think that he did fine? If I was him, I would delete all my social media and I would never be seen on the internet ever again. I would be completely embarrassed and I'd get a complete new job. I'd be wrapping subs at Subway. I would be doing something completely different. After that happened to me, I couldn't do it anymore. I just don't have that type of hubris. I just don't.
Yeah, it has nothing to do.
So answer that. I'll answer that. There's a reason why, and I'll answer it honestly. There's a reason why a lot of people on the left refuse to date the Wilsons or be in these types of environments.
No, the reason why the people on the left refuse to be in these type of environments is because they get dog walked. Because they get absolutely dog walked. They get crushed. They get obliterated by housewives. They get obliterated. That's what you just watched. A housewife just obliterate this guy. And not only that, like, how about this? What do you think about the leftist debaters that people would consider the best? You know, the Destinys, the Walshes, these kind of guys. What do you think they would think of his performance? If you did if they got an honest evaluation on how well Brian Shapiro did against Rachel Wilson, do you think they would have said he did fine? Do you think they would have said that? Or do you think they'd be cringed and embarrassed?
Under the circumstances, hold on.
Because they'd lose.
Do you want me to answer, or do you want?
That's why. That's the reason why the people on the left don't do these, is because they know they get absolutely dog walked.
Answer for me. I can answer, right? Is that okay? Thank you.
Yeah,
When you have everybody in the crowd, and I mean everybody, that is against me, before I say one word, when you have everybody, including the moderator, who once muted my microphone, even though she...
Where were your supporters?
Are you going to let me... Again...
And that's another thing, too, is I wanted to bring up, he keeps on bringing up, everybody in the crowd was there just, supporting them. And it's like, dude, where were your supporters? You had just as much time to prepare for this. Why didn't you, all you're so popular with your syndicated radio show, and I've been on Pierce Morgan, and I've been on all these large platforms, and I'm so popular, 800,000 people, listeners a day, all this. How come nobody showed up? How come nobody showed up to support you? How come people in your own comment sections, 90% of them are just sitting there saying you're a lolcow? 90% of the people in his own comment section are absolutely flaming him. And the people that are supporting him, they don't understand, I'm reading the comments. They don't understand what a debate is anyway. It's not about a right or a left issue. You can be a leftist or somebody on the right. It doesn't matter about where you are in the political spectrum at all. Debate is, there's like almost a art to debate. There's a form to debate. This is people, there's kids that debate in high school. You don't have to be politically affiliated to know what a debate is or how to debate. This guy said that I didn't go there for that. Like, I didn't go there to debate. It's the equivalent of somebody being like, I'm going to play basketball, but showing up with a golf club. And then somebody asking him, hey, how good did you play? How good did you do in that basketball game? And them saying, I didn't really go to play basketball. It's like, what?
And you've interrupted me twice now, and I'm trying to answer your question, so that's really all you get. I'm going to finish without you interrupting me.
He kicked me.
Nobody on the left, in my estimation, has an association with modern day debate or an association with
none of that matters.
Uncensored America. The two groups of people that are associated with Uncensored America are a Holocaust denier, anti-Semite, his name is Myron Gaines, and a bunch of misogynist pigs known as the Wilsons. There's a reason why a lot of people on the left don't want to be associated with these organizations. So to answer your question, under the circumstances where everybody there was against me since the second the debate started, I thought I did pretty good under the circumstances.
Pure and utter delusion. All right. Well, hey, I got one more thing to show you guys if I can find it. It's hard. It's been hard to find because he deleted it. Brian Shapiro. Yeah, this has been really hard to find. There we go. So guys, this is what I'm going to, oh no, this isn't it. This isn't it. Is this the one? I don't know if this is going to be the one. It might be hard to find. He did delete this, guys. Maybe I will. I can't really find it. I might not be, but it's a crazy response. It's crazy what he said about man, maybe I'll just show it tomorrow, but it's really bad what he said about her, about Andrew Wilson, and yeah, I guess I gotta find it tomorrow. I'll be more prepared tomorrow, guys. So hey, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shut down for the rest of the night. Let's see, off the book.